Let me tell you real quickly. The Siyum and Shmaya, I had nothing to do with organizing tonight's event. But when I found out that it was in the White Shul, I was very excited. I grew up on this block, on 6th Street and Alonzo, on the corner. My father learned a lot of Torah in this shul for many years. He would sit here with houses filling all day in the back room over there. There's nobody here, it was empty. I would come visit him. And he was a Rebbe in Sharyashu. I learned in Darke. My friends on this block, the Sussmans, Rav Sussman was a Rebbe in Yidy was in my class. Rav Simcha Sussman has a famous yeshiva now, lives on my block in Eretz Yisrael, and we used to play together on this block. So it's tremendous hashgacha that we're here tonight. Yishkoyach to the White Shul for having us. Yishkoyach to Rabbi Feiner. Yishkoyach to Mayor Arkovich for setting up tonight. And again, yishkoyach for the Bench Schwartz for all the food. And Yishkoyach, somebody came over to help out. I think he gave $1,000. So Yishkoyach to you, whoever you are, I have no idea who it is. And Yishkoyach to all those that are thinking of being Mishtat, because a night like tonight and tomorrow and in Borough Park, you know that we had 1,250 people walk through the door in Borough Park. And we had, I think, like 750 in Muncie. So Baruch Hashem, unbelievable. So, okay, you ready? Yeah. Here we go. Actually, you know what? Let's do the Siyum right now. We have a very, very special guest with us. We have a 99-year-old Holocaust survivor, Rabbi Katz, that is going to give us the big honor and is going to say Kaddish. I'm just going to make the Siyum real quickly. Yeah, we're going to have Rabbi Schwartz do the Hadron. Oh, Kaddish is Peresman Levine? No? Oh, he doesn't want to say. Okay, fine, sorry. False call. Repairs Chaim Levine, who brought over 700 people to the Daf by standing outside in the rain and just begging people to join the shir, he's going to say the Kaddish. It says in the Mishnah, the last Mishnah of Saita. By the way, I got to tell you this. It hit me when I was saying L'Volet Sion. The last Daf of Saita says, why is it, in what schus did we survive? In what schus? We're so bad, we do this, we do that, all these different things. So what's the schus? You know what the Gemara says? The Gemara says, because we say Uvalet Sion every day. What does that mean? We talk about the beauty of Torah and Uvalet Sion, and we say it every day. And Rashi points that out. Even though it's a small amount of learning, we say it every day. The idea of Yom, the idea of learning every day without fail, no matter what. And that is the beauty of Daf Yomi. There are a lot of programs out there, and they're all phenomenal programs. I advocate Daf Yomi because of this one idea. That no matter what, you'll see the Balabatim on the planes, you'll see them in Disney World. There's no simchas, there's no vacation, there's no excuses. 365 days a year, you're learning Torah. And the pella is that most people, most fruit people, wouldn't have a havamina not to wear tefillin one day. Tefillin. But Torah is even more important than tefillin. And plenty of people skip days upon days, and sometimes years upon years after they leave yeshiva, and they don't learn a word. But it's the most important thing. And I'm going to go into the reasons why sometimes people don't learn Torah, and what we can do about it. But we say Uvalet Sion every day, that little amount of Torah we talk about, a little bit, every day, even on Shabbos by Mincha, we say Uvalet Sion. And then we say Kaddish, so we have Torah and Kiddush Hashem, and that's what keeps us going. Can you imagine if you do more than Uvalet Sion? You learn a whole daf with new Yisodas, new Musagim in Torah every day. If you haven't learned Soida, you probably the first time in your life that you need something called Agasha. You take the bowl and you put it on the Mizbeah. You do Trufa up and down, different things. Every day is a new Chiddush. Come, Ben, let's go. Where are you? You gotta get going here. I'm alive. And with that, Hadran Allah Chagla Rufa was speaking on the Sefta Saita. Hadran Allah Chagla Rufa was speaking on the Sefta Saita. Hadran Allah Chagla Rufa was speaking on the Sefta Saita. And here, Ben Schwartz, the student that was called a terrible name many, many years ago.
حاجة الله مسافة الصوت وحاجة الله تأكل الله مسافة الصوت وذات الله وكان في مناف مسافة الصوت فسمعت من الله الله عمل بالخزين والله عمل جاسي أنا يبري أسمع فصلا داودي سداش ميرابو ليس شلون من ما بيا شلون ما يدو يا كل إسرائيل
Amen. Mazel tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, mazel tov. A good Voch Rabboisai. Shkoyach. A good Chodesh. A good Voch. This is Leilu Nishmas Yosef Mordechai. This is the latest shir that I've ever given. And thank you so much for coming out at such a late hour. It's a tremendous, tremendous chizuk. Real quickly, the koil is sponsored by Anonymous from Lakewood. The Masechta, we don't have a sponsor yet. The Pardes HaChodesh, Leilu Nishmas Chai Bas Yosef. Pardes HaChodesh, Leilu Nishmas Zechraya Ben Moshe. Pardes HaChodesh, Leilu Nishmas Rav Eliyahu Ben Rav Yosef Menachem Mendel. Somebody just came over and gave $1,000. Mendy Elephant for the yahrzeit of my mother, Rosh Chodesh Sion, Pesach Gittin Bas, Rav Yitzchak, very much appreciated. The Neshama should have an Aliyah, Yidy Schwartz, Leilu Nishmas, Sor Bracha Dvora Bas, Reb Chaim, Rafal Aryeh, Parnas Hayoim, Lisa Ban, to my dear Glenn, Happy anniversary, and awesome husband, keep learning. Shkoyach. Elcha Lizy PRESSman, in honor of our newest member, Dr Moshe Katz, your eineklach. Shkoyach. Everybody, 99-year-old Holocaust survivor. Unbelievable. Shmaya and Mendy Fischer, Leilu Nishmas, our brother. Eliyahu, Olav Shalom Ber Shloim Tzvi, Elazar Neriyoi, Chavtas Iyar. And the art, sponsor for complete refuah for Chaim, Tzvi, Ben, Leah. So real quickly, because there are a lot of people I heard from the last, they didn't see the latest and greatest. So let me just get you into the Masechta real quickly. We're talking about a husband who wants to divorce his wife. He actually didn't want to divorce her for a long time, let's say. He left her in a guna for 20 years. And finally they caught up with him in Chutz La'aretz, and they want him to send a get to his wife. There's very specific things that he has to do. The shliach, the messenger from the husband, takes the get. Hi Shamshi. Takes the get, and he gives it to the shliach. The shliach takes the get, and he has to say specific words when he brings the get. Befanai nechtav, or befanai nechtav. 4 words. I saw them writing the get, and I saw them signing the get. Every Masechta, we try to introduce new characters for the Masechta. I showed you one character from Nedarim. Now let me show you some of the characters we're working on, and we have a bunch more in the works. Here it goes. So, it happens to be that I also have a get with me. I said this before. If you heard it, great. Not. This is highly illegal to carry around. This is worse than drugs in Eretz Yisrael. This is written on a piece of paper, not parchment. That's how a get is written. And when you write a get in Eretz Yisrael, you tear it up immediately. No sane sofer will allow you to write a get and give you a get. It's illegal. We convinced the sofer, he didn't know the real laws, and we got it, and I ran out of the country immediately before I was arrested. So here goes. He writes the get. Now, check this out. You're going to love this. We have a shliach like no other. He's very, very capable, and he's up to the task. Here he is. If you don't recognize him, this is what he usually looks like. He's our shliach. The husband, on the other hand, he's a good shmaka guy. Shtuk Hasidish. In the get, I don't know if you could zoom in here. Which camera? Oh, this camera. I don't know if you see his name. He's the husband right over here. Donald Ben Trump, right over here. Okay. You got it. Givaldi. This get, 12 lines, because get is Gimel Test, 12. It has sirtut. I don't know if you could see, like, they make the lines from behind. Can you see them? Not really? You can see it. Move a little. Not really. Okay. Fine. We had a big machlokes, what the reason of saying b'fanei nechtam is, and that we're going to go over it again. The sugyas in the beginning of Gittin are very easy. There's actually a famous Agadita in Gittin. The sugya today is no different. It just goes over what we learned the other day. Rabba and Rava. Rabba with a hey at the end. He says the problem is l'shma with a hey. Rava says the problem is edim. We want to know, was it written properly? Was it written with the intent of the wife? L'shma. Rava says no. We just want to authenticate the get. Now, the story continues. Here's the husband's house in Florida. Oh, hold on. Let me do that again, because you guys didn't hear. There's a little voice. It's okay.
Yossi, would you please bring over this get to Arbon, Israel?
Okay, fine. Good. So, the shliach, of course, is taking the get, Eretz Yisrael, from Florida to Eretz Yisrael. ends up in the airport over there in Florida, Miami. And here he comes, Baruch Hashem. The guys are already anticipating what's going to happen. Here he comes. Oh. All right. Nothing wrong having a little fun learning Torah. Okay, so to be continued. Of course, when he gets to Israel, he rents a bike. I'm not going to tell you what happens. All right. We're holding on the bottom of Daf Dalet Amud Beis, 4 lines from the bottom. I got to tell you real quickly. In Parshas Yisroi, it says, "B'chodesh hashlishi l'tzeis b'nei Yisrael meretz Mitzrayim," on the 3rd month. Bayoim hazeh. You know what Bayoim hazeh is? Today. And what does it say in the pasuk? Vayichan shom Yisrael neged ahar. Famous Rashi. Ki ish echad b'lev echad. Today. Mamish, not a coincidence. Hashgacha pratis. Today, Rosh Chodesh סיון, Bayom hazeh ki ish echad b'lev echad. Look around, Rabbi Yisai. Look at the achdus. That's one of the secrets of MDY. The tremendous achdus. There's no difference between a guy with an up hat, a down hat, a kippas ruga, velvet, a chassid, a litvak, a Sfardi, Ashkenazi. We're all here. Look at the room. Look around you. Look what's going on. The tremendous achdus of people coming to learn Torah, the Rebbeinu Shalom, sweet Torah, every single day. You look on Zoom on a regular day. You wouldn't believe the Hasidim with the curly payas sitting next to the guy. We just lost one of our most popular guys in our share. He used to be on Zoom every single day. Avi Mandelbaum was only in his 40s. The tsar that the whole shir had. And what did they do? L'schus is refuah. They took upon themselves, you're not going to believe this, 5,000 daf of Gemara. 5,000. We said maybe we'll get to 1,000. The people that took the most were Hasidim, that in real life wouldn't look at this guy. He had a ring on his finger, kibas ruga, a real tziyoni, lived in a tziyoni place in Eretz Yisrael. No. Because when it comes to Torah, there's no such thing. There's no you're this, you're that. We're all one, we're all Yidden. And it was unbelievable to see the Hasidim crying when he was nifter. Pashat crying. Hasidim took upon themselves mitzvahs and this. There's no such thing. And people love it. And that's why it's Matzliach, Baruch Hashem. Ki ish echad b'leiv echad. Tnan. So now we're going to go into, again, the whole machlokes between Rabba and Rava. Here it is on the screen again. Everybody remembers, Rabba means Lishma, Rava means Eidim. Okay. Person brings a get from Medinas Hayom and he can't say B'fanei Nechtam, B'fanei Nechtam. Why can't he say it? There's a physical problem. He can't say it. If there are Eidim that can authenticate it, then let's do that. So we want to know, we want to understand, what does it mean he can't say it? Top of that Amud Aleph. If you say he's a cheresh, we like to show a cheresh like this. There's a potato head that's holding his mouth and his ears. It's a cheresh yochel davar v'shimei. He can't hear or speak. So he's a shaita l'kol davar. La'alacha, he doesn't have seichel. Says the Gemara, cheresh ba'asui gitahu. He cannot be a shliach anyway. But nan hakol ksherim lo yisaget. Chutz mecheresh shaita v'katan. Besides, people that don't have seichel. What's a shaita? Rashi says always, a shaita is you give him something and he loses it. He's ma'abed it. We all could be potentially shaitim. Because Baruch Hu gives us life. There's nothing better than life, and we lose it. We don't care about it. We don't take care of our life. We waste it on shtusim. Instead of learning Torah, we waste it. Is that not more than ma'abed? You give him an apple and he loses it. Okay. I'm giving you life and you lose it. En chashay the gadol mizeh, chas v'shalom. Says the Gemara. V'amar Rav Yosef, hachav ma'askinon. Kigoyin shenesan eloi kshu pikeach v'lehispik loymar b'fanei nechtav ashenis charesh. You have a guy, heard perfectly well. He gave a get to a woman and became a cheresh. Let me ask you what happened. What was the story? What happened? I'll tell you what happened. He gave the woman a get, and she's and he became a cheresh. I never did that in cheer before. It's geschmack. Scared. He got scared. It's in his ear. I just started to explain what like all of a sudden, like he gave her a get, and a minute later he's a cheresh. Yeah, she looked at it. She couldn't believe her eyes. Okay, now we have to explain how he became in medaber. He was so shocked. He's like, whoa. Okay, fine. Again, Rava is the one that says that we're concerned about Edom. So all you need to do is authenticate it. L'Rabba kasha, but if according to Rabbi it says they need l'shma, we have to make sure that was written the proper way. What good is it that you're authenticating it with other Edom? We don't know the main idea. The main idea is, was it written l'shma? Nobody said. So what good is it if you're going to authenticate it? We have a big kasha here. So we're talking about in Chutz La'aretz, generations got better. I mean, I don't know if we could say it about our generation. In a way, we're better in certain things. Like we make better tefillin, square tefillin than they made in previous generations. We have more people trying to learn Torah exactly, what, how, when. We might be better in certain things. So the next generation got good at Lishma. They found out there's a concept called Lishma. They know how to do Lishma. Interesting. Stam, I want to throw this out here. The tour, when he starts Hilchas Gittin, he says that you're allowed to divorce your wife if she's posheya on you. She did something bad. One of the famous things that a wife does that you can give her a get is if she burnt your food. Okay. But then he goes on to say something very interesting. He says you should not divorce your wife if it's zivig rishon. That you shouldn't do. All these halachas that you could divorce your wife and it's okay. We're talking about zivig rishon. The mizbeach cries over it. You shouldn't do that. I in the Torah over there. Very interesting. If it's talking about that everybody knows how to do Lishma already, we're in Chutz La'aretz and they all know about Lishma, we're not concerned about Lishma, so what difference does it make if he became a Cheresh? Even if he's not a Cheresh, why should he have to say that it was done Lishma? Says the Gemara, we're concerned that the next generation, they're going to forget about Lishma. Right now, today is great. Everybody knows. What happens in 50 years from now? I don't know. So, let's just institute, everybody says, in case. So, what did you get? So, it's a gzeira, so you should always have to say that it was Lishma. So, what if he became deaf? Says the Gemara, since it's so uncommon that a guy becomes a mute deaf, we don't have to make a gzeira for him. As the Gemara, a woman who brings a get is something very uncommon. Very interesting story happened. The husband hated his wife so much, he said, listen, I'll do you a favor, I'll give you a get. But on condition that you go fight, if you go to another country, get out of here. And to make sure, he said, you'll become divorced when you reach that country and you go to that bezdin. Okay, so she's a shliach for herself. It's a very interesting case. She's a shliach bringing her own get to herself in another country. And she has to say, now, the problem is that everybody knows how to do Lishma, right? So why does the woman have to say Lishma? Everybody knows how to do it. We're in a generation, and it's not shchiach. No, we can't separate. You can't say this shliach is common, this shliach is not common. All shlichim have to say, have to say that it's l'shma. Now, what about the deaf guy? Also, al tachli b'shlichos. So Rashi says, listen, he can't. He physically can't. You can't force him. But a woman who could say that it was done l'shma, just it's not very common, and you're saying since it's not common, she shouldn't have to do it. Make her do it so that loy plug, all shlichim have to do it. The one exception is the guy that became deaf. Yachi bal nami. So how come a husband doesn't have to? If he himself brings her to get, he should have to say eineklach. He should have to say it was done l'shma. A husband doesn't have to. So the Gemara answers. What's the whole reason of eineklach? Now, the whole concern, the main problem is we're not so concerned that it's not l'shma. We're not so concerned about anything. We're concerned that the husband is going to make tsaras. He's going to come and say it's not a good get. Now, Mo Soifrim, who writes a get? This get, you can't just write it. You don't know how to do it. You're going to go to a guy that's a pro. The guy that wrote this get wrote hundreds of Gittin in his life. He knew all the halachas. So he knows about l'shma. Just what? We're concerned that the husband is going to lie and say that it's not a good get. Then what's about Maro Pasalite? Well, that's not a concern now. Why? He's holding the get. He's bringing the get. You think he's going to say something now? He himself is bringing the get. Why would he say that the get is no good? Okay. Stam, I was like, I don't know. There's some kids in the audience. We'll say some a corny joke. We're talking about the Doris Rishonim versus Doris Achronim. They did it this way. We in this generation we're even better. We know how to do the Shema. So a kid came home once from school. I just like this because my kids sometimes they throw this in my face when I try to tell them how it was back in the day. Kid comes home from school with a ripped shirt, all sweaty, and so his grandfather says, well, "What's going on?" He says, "Don't ask. I missed the bus. I had to walk home like 2 miles." So his grandfather says, "No, 2 miles. My house in the Chaim, I used to walk 10 miles. Garden, what's 2 miles? What happened to the shirt?" He said, "Oh, I got into a big fight, and the guy beat me up. He ripped my shirt." He said, "Oh, I used to fight with 2 kids every day. I used to beat them up. I never lost a fight in my life." He says, "Yeah, but Zaidi, I'm only 10 years old." He says, "Yeah, back then, in our days, I wasn't 10. I was 11 and a half. You have what I'm saying? So, everything is better. When I was 10, I was 11 and a half. Okay, now you got it. I used to walk to literally 2 miles in Bnei Brak. I used to tell my kids. My father used to send me to get a looks. I don't know if my brother still is. Rafal here? Anywhere? You see my brother? Big Tam Tlachim. He's there. Where is he? No? Not here. He left already? Call him out. Here he is in the back. We didn't use electric back in the day in Bnei Brak. It was terrible stuff. So my father had these gas canisters in the dining room. And they only lasted for like 2 hours, and they would how do you say ma'avev in English? They would flicker. It gave everybody a headache. It was nervayim. He was a big chazinishnik in those days. So, of course, every Erev Shabbos, he ran out. He would send me with 10 shekel, and he'd say, "Go to the store on Rebbe Kiva, and buy these canisters." I said, "Can I take the bus?" No. Just walk. Now, in Bnei Brak, it's 120 degrees. So I would tell my kids, "Wait, I should drive you?" I used to walk, 2 miles this way and that way. Pizza? They want pizza 4 times a week. He said, nowadays, that's my brother, we got pizza once a year, Erev Pesach. My mother couldn't make food, right? Well, no. He got more pizza. How many times a year? Well, that's okay. So my mother used to lie to me. She said, "You, only Erev Pesach. Rafal gets it every week." Shkayach. But anyway, that's how it was. So stop telling your kids that in those days it was different. Whatever. Tashma. The Boimei Shmuel. Now the good thing is that this sugi right over here, we have 18 lines of Chazar that we just did now. The Boimei Shmuel Meravuna. Shnaim Shiv Yugem Yudin Sayom. Yeah, we start out a little different, but it's the same idea, chazering over. Two Eidim bring a get from overseas. They ask the Shaila, do they have to say b'fanei nechtam? Omarlei, Ravuna says, ein tzrichim. They don't have to. The Eidim themselves could testify that it's a good get, we saw the get, we'll believe them. So why do they have to say anything? Now, this only makes sense if you go with Rava. Rava says that you need authentication. So we have two Eidim that said, hey, here's the get. The Rava Nichel, the Rava Kasha. But if the problem is that we're concerned that it's not Lishma, shouldn't they say that it's Lishma? Says the Gemara, in Chutz they already know about Lishma. So when one person brings a get, he shouldn't have to say b'fanei nechtam, b'fanei nechtam. We're concerned that it's going to go back to the original status in a few years. We don't know what's going to happen. So if we're concerned that it's going to go back to the original status, so even if two people bring a get, why is that good enough? Says Gemara, it's not so common for two people to bring a get together. As the Gemara, but we have another case of something that's not shchiyah. Who's not a yisha atzma via gita, but she atzma tzricha le'mefanei nechtam. You're right. A woman is very uncommon, but we don't want to make a distinction in shlichus. Yochi bal nami. So when a husband brings a get, alamatania, who atzma via gita and tzricha le'mefanei nechtam. Time of my omer abon and tzricha le'mefanei nechtam. Dimosi bal maru posle. The whole reason with the husband, we have to say before nechtam is because the husband is going to come and be married. He himself is bringing it. There's no reason to believe that. Okay, so he just did 18 lines. Toshma. A shliach comes, he brings a get, but he forgot to say b'fanei nechtam or b'fanei nechtam. In this kind of kosher. If it was authenticated with two Eidim, it's kosher. Vim lav, pasul. And if not, it's pasul. Havei. So you could see from here, the briskers say always that when they don't eat on fast days, it's not to be mekel, but it's to be machmir on pikuach nefesh. It's not mekel, to be machmir on pikuach nefesh. Like that guy, I always like to talk about this guy. Guy got married, he told his wife, I'm a brisker. I don't eat on fast. I eat on fast days. I'm not fasting. He comes home, there's a big suda, and his wife sits down next to him. He says, what's going on here? She says, you said you don't fast. He says, yeah, I don't fast. Because I'm machmir, I'm pikuach nefesh, but I don't want to put my chumras on you. Okay, fine. Oh, live in Ramat B'Shamash. They got the joke about I'm not 10 and a half, I'm 11. Okay, fine. Hi, Ramat B'Shamash. It's live? If it's live, everybody raise your hand.
No, we have a few seconds delay.
There's a few second delay?
Don't bother.
How many second delay?
Now they figure it.
You did?
Yeah.
No, they did. Oh, here. No, the obvious factor is being. Okay, I got it. Okay. Gewaldig. What do they do? Shma. Okay. So the whole reason why we say b'fanei nechtam is to make it easier for the woman, not harder. So it says the Gemara, that makes a lot of sense. L'Rava nicha. Again, Rava is the one that says Eidim. So we want to make sure that she doesn't have to authenticate it later on. L'Rabba kasha. But according to Rabba, a person that brings a gift from out of the country and he didn't say b'fanei nechtam, what good does it help me if there were two Eidim that said that it's kosher? They never said that it's Lishma. The whole problem is Lishma. Who said? We don't know if it's Lishma or not. Says the Gemara, once again, there's no concern of Lishma because everybody knows about Lishma. So now the Gemara pulls out a new one. You're worried, you're concerned that maybe it'll go back in the future generations, so you have to be consistent throughout all generations. Kishani says, it's talking about she got married. She got married, we're not concerned about Lishma, not Lishma. She's already married. We're not going to take her out of her marriage now and say that she should divorce her husband because maybe it wasn't Lishma. Yachi, right? Again, it's a kosher get. Everybody knows about Lishma. So it's a good get. She got divorced, she got married to the second guy. You're going to make her get divorced from her second guy because of future generations? She got divorced with a really good get. Okay. Yachi. You just told me that we see from here that the whole reason why we don't make her do is because to be makel. No, that's not the reason. But if she didn't get married, she wouldn't be able to use this get, even though it's mekuyim. It goes the opposite. No. Is not to be makel on her. In this particular case, what happened was she got married and we're concerned maybe we should break her marriage. Then we said, in this condition, we're going to be makel on her and say she doesn't have to get divorced. But not that every single time is there to make a kula for her. Daf Amud Beis, sponsored by Greg Haber. A very, very embarrassing thing happened. I'm going to tell you just so that nobody has tinus on me. So it used to be that I had a very bad memory, and I still do, but I was able to recognize people. Eventually, when I learned this, they never taught us in science. There's a place in the brain that's very good at recognizing human faces. It's a very particular place, small little place. I learned that it only has a few gigabytes in there. Eventually, even people you stop recognizing. Eineklach, I recognize you, Dr Moshe Katz. Eineklach. Oh, by the way, I got to say this, because tomorrow is not going to be very good. We're going to Lakewood, and I'm not going to have with me my Yidid Nefesh, Rabbi Yisrael Goldstein. Yisrael Goldstein did a phenomenal job on photography, and if anybody has a simcha, you should use Yisrael Goldstein. He's a geschmack guy, makes every event geschmack, shein kemoyu yishkoyach. He's also the guy that had 2 grandchildren after he donated $1,000 on Lag Boimer, and I said as a joke, okay, you'll see in 9 months and a day you'll have a grandchild, and Lemaisa, you know what, Rabbi Yisrael, come up here, tell him the story is true. Come quickly. Rabbi Yisrael, what time is it, like 1 in the morning already? We have time for these mices. Rabbi Yisrael Yishkoyach, you gave $1,000 that I should say, your 2 daughters should have Zar Shel Kayama. And what happened? One had a baby.
Within the year, like 8 months later.
9 months later. And the other one had...
Just to clarify, when I decided to do this,
don't ruin it.
9 months later, she had the baby.
Yeah.
And my second daughter had the baby 3 days before like Bohemian.
And they did not call the baby Eliyahu. Unbelievable. Yishkoyach Rabbi Yisrael, you should use him as a photographer seriously. Okay, we're holding Daf Yomi. So I said, I was in Queens on Friday, and I didn't have written down that the turning of the Daf is sponsored by Greg Haber, and exactly what to say. So I said, Greg, come to the stage. He got up and he said, sponsored by Greg Haber, Schos, Parnasa, Atzlacha, and in Schos of Rav Eli, and all those who are doing the Daf. It was beautiful. I said, okay, Shkoyach Greg, and he went back down. Later on, I'm saying Shalom Aleichem to everybody after the shir, Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem. A guy comes over to me and he says, is it possible next year my son's going to yeshiva, could you have him over for Shabbos? I said, sure, but what's your name? He said, my name is Greg Haber. Literally 5 minutes before he's on the stage and I'm schmoozing with him. So if I don't recognize you, don't have any tinus on me. All right. What I'm trying to tell you, Rabbi says, if I could do this, anybody can. memory like this. Taimamai, Dilma Asi Bal Ma'aru Pasale, Hashta Bal Likumar, Anam, Nekom, Vinarle, says the Gemara. Why in the world should we make tsaras for this woman and ruin her marriage? The whole concern is that we have to authenticate it that perhaps the husband's going to come later on. But the husband didn't come, so why should we take his place and ruin her marriage? Says the Gemara, this machlokes that we're discussing over and over, Rabba and Rava, Beplukta de Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi. This is actually the same machlokes of a much earlier generation of Amorai. We're talking about Rabba and Rava. Rava is all the way at the end of the Amoraim. Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi are all the way in the beginning of the Amoraim, right? Because Rabbi Yochanan always argues with who? With Rav. Rav is a Tana Upolig. Rav is the last Tana and the first Amoira. And Rabbi Yochanan was his contemporary. So in other words, Rabbi Yochanan was the first Amoira, also from the first Amoraim. And they had exact same machlokes as Rabbi Yochanan, as Rabba and Rava. The reason why I have to say B'fanei is because either L'shma or Eid. But we don't know who said what. We have a great raya, says the Gemara. Perhaps it's Yeshua ben Levi who says L'shma. Why? The Reb Shimon bar Abba, I see Gittin the Reb Yeshua ben Levi. Reb Shimon, we have to remember this name. Reb Shimon bar Abba brought a get in front of Reb Yeshua ben Levi. Do I have to say it? It's only in the previous generations. You don't have to say it. Why? Because the whole problem is Lishma, and there's no problem with Shema anymore in this generation. So therefore, we're going to do this. Look at this chart. It just changed a little bit. Rabbah and Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi hold the Shema. Now, if Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi argued than Rabbi Yochanan, and we know what Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi says, Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi is a Lishma person, so Rabbi Yochanan automatically goes to the other side. He says Eidim. So now we know who says what. Says the Gemara, Tistayim. That's a great raya. V'tizbara, is that possible? Rabba Islay the Rava. At the end of the day, Rabba who says Lishma also holds of Rava that we have to authenticate the get. And if we have to authenticate the get, how in the world could Rabbi Shimon and Levi say that you don't have to authenticate it now because there's no problem with Lishma? There's still a problem of Eidim. Everybody agrees there's a problem of Eidim. What happened to the chashash that in future generations people are going to forget? They're not going to know about Lishma, and we have to be makbid throughout all generations. You can't just take away a halacha. Have a bad day. So remember, Reb Shimon is the one that brought the get. He came with somebody else. So in fact, we're talking about two Eidim. Two Eidim we had before. They don't have to say. He's not even mentioned. Because we wanted to give honor to Reb Shimon, so Mamela, we didn't mention the other person that came with him. Itmar, Bifnei Kama Noisnallah. In front of how many people do you have to give a get? Now we had this machlokes earlier on, at least twice. Same exact machlokes, same mention. I'll just tell you real quickly. This is for my brother. If he's still here, you're gonna like this one. It's not. Nobody left for this one. There was a 100-year-old couple that came to Bezdin to get divorced. I said, "What happened?" He said, "She was a terrible shidduch from day one." So what happened? Why are you coming today? 80 years later. So the guy said, "Listen, everybody knows that divorce is terrible on the children. Terrible. So we waited for our children to die." No, we have this ongoing thing. This, that. My brother and I are Siyum because our mother died when we were in our 20s. We're still Siyum. Okay, fine. Zog the Gemara. Itmar. We have another machlokes Rabbi Yochanan. And this is going to cause us a little bit of a problem because now if Rabbi Yochanan says one of these things, it might be a problem with what we just established, that Rabbi Yochanan holds that the issue is Eidim. How many people do you give the get to in front of? 2 or 3. I can prove to you that Rabbi Yochanan is the one that says you have to give it in front of 2 people. The Rav Bar Chizda I see Gittin Kamei Rabbi Yochanan. And here we had a story in front of Rabbi Yochanan. And he said, give it only in front of two people. So you see, Rabbi Yochanan holds you only need to give a get in front of two people. This time, great raya. Doesn't get any better than that. Says perhaps the machlokes is the man if you hold, they have to give it in front of two because there's a problem of the shema. So just give it in front of two. You have to authenticate a star. How do you authenticate a star? In front of a bezdin. You have to do it in front of three people to authenticate it right now today. So therefore, give the get every single time in front of three people. Now it's authenticated, and Shalom Yisrael, you don't have to worry about it later on. Ask the Gemara of Tisbara. So going back to this chart, we established that Rav Shimon ben Levi said specifically the problem is Lishma. And he argues with Rabbi Yochanan. So if Rav Shimon ben Levi says Lishma, Rabbi Yochanan obviously is the one that says the problem is Eidim. You hear what's going on here? Eidim. The concern is that it's not going to be authenticated. How do you authenticate a star, a get, in front of three? So if Rabbi Yochanan holds that the problem is Eidim, he's obviously going to have to hold that you need three, not two. We just said Rabbi Yochanan says all you need is two. That's the problem. So it's impossible that he holds two. If the thing is authentication needs to be in front of three, not two. But at the end of the day, everybody holds you have to authenticate a star, a get. So you need three. How can you ever give a get in front of two people when everybody admits that you need to authenticate a get? Authentication requires three. You're right. Everybody agrees that you need Eidim to authenticate the get. Let me just show you real quickly. I was in the car with Mr. Belsky, who's here tonight. Here. So, if you hold, the Gemara said, that Rav Shimon ben Levi holds three, and he holds the Shema, and Rabbi Yochanan holds Shnayim on top. You see Shnayim and Eidim. And that we said is impossible, because Eidim need three, and Shnayim doesn't work. So just to show you real quickly, here's a Shliach. The Shliach becomes an Eid, and an Eid becomes a Dayan. Who's this Dayan? If you haven't recognized him, okay, it's me. But it's not literally like that. This is just for illustrative purposes. In other words, again, a Shliach is a messenger bringing a get in. Could that messenger that brings a get, is he biased? Could he testify about what just happened? And if he could testify about what happened, could he turn into one of the three judges? That's the Shiloh over here. So again, we might be able to have this messenger, the Shliach, give a get in front of two people. Why? Because two people that are witnessing it plus the messenger, the Shliach, equals three. That's only if you hold that a messenger could flip into a Dayan. And that's the machlokes over here. Zog the Gemara. The messenger could eventually become one of the three judges, so all you need is two judges, plus him is three. Everybody holds, bottom line, that the messenger can turn into a witness and testify about what he saw in the get. But the witness cannot turn into a judge, and therefore you have to do it in front of three dayanim, three dayanim. But at the end of the day, this is the Rabbanan thing. If it's the Raisa, where do we have the Raisa? Let's say Eidos on the moon. To testify that I saw a moon, it's Rosh Chodesh, not Rosh Chodesh. That's a Raisa that you need. It doesn't become a Dayan. But in the Rabbanans, and we're talking about the Rabbanan here, Xavier the Rabbanan, to say B'fanei Nechta, that's only the Rabbanan. Everybody should agree that the Eid becomes a Dayan. Okay, you're right. Nu machlokes. The Ma'ar Savak even the Ishok Sheir obvious get, because we said before that a woman can bring her own get. Zim the Ma'isleitz of Samchela. The woman is going to bring the get, and we're going to rely on her. And we can't rely on her. We can only rely on her to bring the get. She could be a messenger. The Rabbanan said she could be a messenger, but she can't be one of the Dayanim. V'idach, and the other man holds, Isha made the Yadi, everybody knows, don't worry. Nobody's concerned that if she could bring the get, she'll turn into one of the Dayanim. Nobody's going to allow her to be on the Bezdin. We have a right to Rabbi Yochanan that 2 people is enough. Hamevi get that you can bring in front of 2 people. Hamevi get memdinas hayom and a son-in-law. Person brings a get from Chutz La'aretz and he doesn't say b'fanei nechta. Yoitzi v'avlad mamzer. You hear this, Rabbi say? If you don't say the Rabbanon thing of b'fanei nechta, and a person gets married based on that get, the vlad is a mamzer. Divri Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Meir holds the vlad is a mamzer. Chomayim ain't a vlad mamzer. Not true. Ketzad yasa. Yitleno imenu v'yachzer yitnenu lo b'fnei shnayim. You should, if the messenger gave a get without saying b'fanei nechta, you must take it back and give it again. Reminds me of the story of Baron Kotler. He was once arguing with a bacher in learning, and they got really heated. And all of a sudden he said, the bacher is saying such shtusim, take him out of the Beis Medrash right now. So Talmidim says, Rebbe, he left 5 minutes ago. He said, bring him back in and then take him out immediately. So the guy gave the get, he didn't do it the right way. Take it and give it back. Ask Tosfos, why take it and give it back? Let him just say, b'fanei nechta, b'fanei nechta. Why does he have to take it back? Says Tosfos, you see from here that b'fanei nechta has to be done when you give the get. There's a famous Maisa. I love saying over the story. It's a great Maisa, but maybe I shouldn't say who it happened with. They say it happened with the Rebbe from Boston. I don't know if it's true. Fine. I'm not going to say who it's from. His daughter got married, and immediately after the chasana, the Rebbe realized this is a terrible idea. It's a terrible shidduch. So he calls in his son-in-law. It was literally the next day. He calls him in. He says, listen, I just watched the video. I had an opportunity to see the video of the chasana, and I'm looking at the chuppah, and the Masada Kedusha, and he didn't have the right kavanas and the whole thing. It wasn't good. The Pasha wasn't good. You could see he was spacing out. What should we do? I don't know what should we do. You know what we should do? Let's do it over again. Let's do a new Kiddushin. We'll bring a guy real quickly. We'll do Arya and Kudashes. We'll do a real Kiddushin. Okay, great idea. I'm asking. Yeah, we can't do a real Kiddushin without giving a get. First you give a get, and we're going to do a Kiddushin. Okay. So the guy gave a get, and then he said, you know what? Maybe it's not such a good idea to do the second part. The get is good, the Kiddushin I'm not so sure about. And he just left him like that. That's the Maisa. Okay. So over here he gave the get, and he says, listen, we have to do it over again. It's not good. You have to have kavana, and you redo it again. Ketzad yase yitleno imeno. He takes it from her. V'yachziv yitneno lo b'fnei shnayim. V'yoyim b'fanei nechta b'fanei nechta. V'remeir mishum de lo yamar b'fanei nechta b'fanei nechta yoytzi v'avlad mamzer. Because he didn't say those 4 words, if he doesn't divorce his wife, the kids are mamzerim? Yes. If you change 1 iota in what Chacham said you should do in a get, yoytzi v'avlad mamzer. It's unbelievable, I think. If you think about it for a second, a lot of times we have the Rabbanans and we say, you know what? It's only the Rabbanan. The Gemara is telling us that even only the Rabbanan can create real mamzerim. Mamzerim. Doiraisa mamzerim that nobody can marry. How? Because Chacham have the power to undo Kiddushin, to undo the paper that the get was written on. It's not even yours. It wasn't a get. So she was still married to her original husband. You don't mess with Chachamim. It's not, it's only the Rabbanan, a little mukta, so I had it in my drawer and I needed something, I pulled it, it's only new, what's the worst? A little the Rabbanan. No, the Rabbanan could be mamzerim. Says the Gemara, Bahedya, boy lasui gita. When you see this word, this name, Barhedya, I have no idea, I looked everywhere, I couldn't find that this is him, but this is the famous Barhedya. I got to remind everybody the story in Brachas. What did you say? Somebody screamed something out. What did you say? That's right. Brachas, what daf? Who? You're off by 50 daf, but not bad. So who's Barhedia? Barhedia is very famous. I'm not sure this is the same one, but he was a Paiser Chaloimus. And I found this that I did in Brachas. These are all the dreams that Rav and Abaya came to Barhedia with. And if you gave him enough money, he would give you a good interpretation. If you didn't give him enough money, he would give you a bad interpretation. And Rava refused to pay for this. And Rava suffered tremendously. And you go through the list. His daughters were captured by Goyim. Eventually, he killed his wife. He took away his parnasa, everything. Finally, Rava just gave up, and Rava started paying him money. And Rava started getting at the bottom of the list, the last 5 things, he got good interpretations. One day they were on a boat together, and Rava decided it's time to get off the boat because the interpretation was that the boat is going down or something. I forgot the whole Maisa, I forgot to look it up. But the bottom line is that he told Barhedia, I'm meichel you for everything besides the daughter of Rav Chizda, because Rava was married to the daughter of Rav Chizda and she was nifter, he couldn't forgive him for that. And the Gemara tells us, craziest ending. There is no movie in Hollywood that has an ending like this. Basically, Barhedia was caught, the guy in charge over there of the Eitzer, he asked Barhedia to interpret the dream and he didn't want to, and then they lost everything, all the silk and everything went. So the king wanted to kill the guy in charge of the treasure. So the guy said, listen, Barhedia could have saved it. He knew the answer, but I didn't pay him. And the king said, really? He took Barhedia, and they bent a tree, one of these trees that if you bend it, goes all the way back up. They bent the tree, tied it to one of his legs. Then they bent another tree and tied it to another leg, and then they let go. And you can imagine what happened to Barhedia. That was the end of Barhedia. So the Gemara says over here, Barhedia, it's only 1:00. Rabbi said we're almost done. Another minute. In Eretz Yisrael, they're laughing away. Is it chakras over there? What's going on? Barhedia, Baila, Sui Gita, Osla Kamid Rebachi, Achai, Dahava, Memuna Gittin. There was a person in charge of Gittin. Rashi says he's a tremendous Talmud Chacham. He was in charge of Gittin. Sometimes you have in cities people that are in charge of certain things, of kashrus, of this, of that. A very specific thing, because you have to know what you're doing. You have to make sure that you're there for every single letter that's Lishma. They lived in Tveria and he went over there and he said, you don't have to listen to it. You don't have to know that every word is Lishma. I love this Gemara. But maybe, look, he said he should listen to every word and do Lishma. Maybe I should be Machmer. Says Gemara, it's unbelievable, this Gemara. If you think you're a big tzaddik and you're doing a chumrah that you don't have to do, so what you're saying is that all those people that didn't do your chumrah, all those Gittin that didn't have your chumrah, they're all pasul. And all these women that are running around married to a second man, they're Eishes Ish. What, you're more chashav, you're more machmer? So you have to know. When do you say this, when you don't say it? I looked it up. There's a lot of machlokes, and most poskim hold that you're not allowed to be machmer in everything. It's not just ishus. Some say it's only in yoni ishus. Some say it's in every halacha. For instance, to be machmer in Eretz Yisrael, some people came out now, maybe you shouldn't eat these chickens because chicken, this is from a different breed and we don't have a good Messiah in this chicken. Okay? So what are they doing? It could be. What are they doing? What they're doing is they're saying that all the Yidden that ever ate chicken, in all the generations, ate treif. That's not a chumrah. When you're being machmer, something like that, you're being moitzi laz on Klal Yisrael. So the chumrah that you're makbid on, you have to know what you're makbid on. You can't just be makbid on chumras. Say, I don't do this. Even the badats, when it comes to Hilchah Shemitah, they have a lot of kulas. And they say, why? Because if they're going to be machmer, they're saying that the generations before who weren't machmer on these chumras, they were oisvarvs. They're bums. They didn't know what they're doing. So not to be moitzi laz on previous generations, they don't take upon themselves certain chumras. All right, so everybody asks their own rav when it comes to a certain chumrah you want to take upon yourself. Some, the Yerushalmi says, you could take sometimes upon yourself chumras, some say you can't, but every issue, there's something else behind it. You have to worry about, are you putting down previous generations by your big chumrah? Rav Arachana, Aisi Gita, Pagichtiv Kamei, Pagaloichtiv Kamei, half he saw it written in front of him, half not. Also coming to Rav Elazar, or I feel like all you need to see, according to a future Rashi, the first line, that's done the Shema. Now you know the rest of the get of the Shema. Shuv and Itzarech, Rabbi Sai. Thank you for coming. Have a wonderful day.